I still hear the paper rustling in my palms, but it wasn't just ordinary paper. The legal stamp indicating that she had won the case was the last straw. It gave Vanessa Campbell limited access to the lakeside property, according to what I had read. I read the words more slowly this time, hoping that if I looked closely enough, the meaning would change. But it didn't. My cabin did not become white as my fingers tightened on the letter. My place, the one I had built from the ground up, every plank, every nail. While Vanessa was busy enjoying cocktails, I spent years renovating the property. Stone, set with my own hands. Oh yes, Ryan. Boutique restaurants whispering sweet nothings into her ear. I was still sanding when she left me for a bit, upgrading to her new husband. I had dreamed of summer mornings with the woman I believed to be mine, but she wasn't coming back. No, that was too simple. She was bringing him, along with their stepdaughter, Lila. My phone buzzed on the counter. I knew who it was before I even looked, as if they had some divinely granted permission to enter and take everything I had made. I stared at Vanessa's name for a moment before swiping to check the message. You can't do anything about it, so we're using the cabin this weekend. My anger rose like bile in my throat. I could almost see the sneer on her face, the same one she wore in court. The one that made me weak, made me forgive things I never should have. She had been gathering awards, not taking lives. And my jaw tightened. She found this amusing. It was all a game. I inhaled deeply, gazing around my kitchen. Everything was too silent, too quiet. This wasn't how it was meant to go. Instead of being stuck acting as the landlord of my own damn house, I was supposed to be free of her. I grabbed my cabin keys. I needed to see it one last time before whatever came next. I knew every bend in the road, every tree that bordered the path. Driving up was effortless. I had carved out a haven in the woods, dedicated years to making this place my own. As I pulled up, the late afternoon sun dipped behind the trees, and that's when it hit me. I was being forced to hand over everything, to the woman who had destroyed my life. I installed the new windows myself, rebuilt the deck piece by piece, tended to the garden, and now she would never even bother to touch the land that was mine, and now theirs. I turned to find Marcus striding up the walkway, fists clenched. He was clutching that will like it owed him money. Marcus, my best friend since college. The man who had carried lumber with me when my back gave out. The one who stayed up with me, sipping whiskey, the night Vanessa's lawyer handed me divorce. Papers, because he always knew how bad it was. He glanced at me, then at the crumpled court letter, whistled softly. She really got the judge to approve this? He muttered. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Oh, it gets better, I said, pulling out my phone. Marcus snatched it from me, read Vanessa's message. When he got to the words, "cry in court," his lips curled in disgust. He shook his head. What a piece of work. I ran a hand through my hair. I don't even think she wants the cabin. Marcus raised an eyebrow. So what does she want? To prove she can take it from me. The words felt heavy, but I knew they were true. She didn't give a damn about the cabin, not about the improvements, not about the memories, not about the years of labor I put into it. She only cared about winning. Marcus crossed his arms. So what are you going to do about it? I let out a hollow laugh. Nothing. The court already ruled. She gets the cabin. Marcus didn't look convinced. He wasn't smiling, at least not at first. But then, slowly, a grin spread across his face. The cabin, sure, he said. But what about the surrounding land? I frowned. Marcus leaned in. Did the court order say anything about that? I blinked. His grin widened. Maybe, he said. It's time we start thinking bigger. I looked out past the cabin. Acres of untouched land stretched beyond Vanessa's so-called victory. Something shifted in me, something dangerous. Vanessa thought she had won, but she had no idea what was coming. The sound of the cabin door slamming reverberated around the clearing, but I hardly noticed. She had just entered my world. Vanessa's anger was evident in her reaction, but that was the thing about her. She had always believed that rage gave. Her authority and that control meant she could change the course of events. I turned back toward the retreat to watch, but this time the tides were not in her favor. Marcus replied, "We should begin running electrical lines soon," pointing to one of the new posts we had set up. I answered, "You still want solar panels, of course?" I didn't even need to check my phone to know that Vanessa was messaging her attorney at that moment, trying to figure out how to reverse this. My voice was measured and calm, as if I hadn't just ruined Vanessa's expectations in one afternoon. Marcus smiled. "She's losing it, isn't she?" The cabin door swung open once more, right on cue. I turned to watch. Ryan trailed behind Vanessa, less irate but more worn out, as she stormed out, phone still in her grasp. "We should talk," she yelled. I took my time responding. She pointed around us as if to explain everything. "You can't do this. I'm working on this whole ridiculous project." I exhaled and shook my head. "You're not listening to me, Vanessa. You keep repeating yourself." She had already given Ryan credit, and it appeared he realized it. He ran a hand through his hair, uneasy. "I understand that this is personal for you," I said. "But let's be realistic and at least talk about it." Vanessa squared her shoulders. "What would you like to talk about?" I leaned on the railing. "This retreat bullshit is going to get in the way of our opportunity," she claimed. "You're actually building all around the cabin, making it impossible to appreciate, preventing us from having any privacy at all." "Oh, privacy?" I asked, my voice kind. Her jaw tightened. "You dragged me to court and pushed your way back into my personal space." "But this isn't the same." "No," I agreed. Her eyes flashed with rage. "Come on, Daniel. Do you truly believe that a full-fledged retreat center is sustainable?" Smirking, I gestured toward the retreat. They both paused when they saw it was already funded. Ryan blinked. I shrugged. "We have sponsors, investors, community support." Vanessa, the journalist, twisted her expression. "You're telling me people genuinely want this?" I pointed toward the retreat, where staff were hard at work creating new pathways and preparing areas for outdoor workshops. "See, Vanessa, the problem is, after years of trying to control everything around you, you forget something. When people are finally free, they can create something better." Her lips parted, as if to argue, but Ryan shifted uneasily. She was at a loss for words. "What specifically do you intend to do?" she asked. "If people start arriving, allowing strangers to roam the land?" I smiled. She realized that's exactly what was going to happen. Vanessa became visibly agitated. "You're turning this place into a glorified campsite for men who have lost their way," she yelled. I arched an eyebrow. "You say that as if it's a bad thing." She inhaled sharply, gears shifting in her mind, fumbling for a fresh angle. Then it hit her. She grinned, but not in a warm way. "Oh," she said, tilting her head. "This makes perfect sense. I've always wondered what you'd do after you lost everything." Ah, that was the final itch, the insult before defeat, but I maintained my composure. "Vanessa, I didn't lose anything. I only lost you," she faltered. All I needed was a split second. I pushed off the railing and stepped forward. "You think I didn't see this coming?" Her eyes darkened. "But you did, Vanessa," I cut in. "You can't change the fact that you picked this course. You walked away, and now you get to sit in that cabin and watch as I build something real." Ryan moved uneasily beside her. She squared her shoulders, likely realizing, for the first time, that Vanessa wasn't as in control as she thought she was. "We'll discuss it," she muttered. Then she pivoted and stormed off. Ryan hesitated before sighing and following her inside. Marcus let out a low whistle next to me. Damn, that was a beautiful thing. I laughed. "Neither are you," he said. That was the difference. Vanessa didn't realize I was building instead of reacting, and how could she deal with that?